'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fears relieved. How precious is that grace of His, the hour I first believed, when we bent 10,000 years, bright shining at the sun. We to sing God's praise. Then when we first begun, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
That's the light tone, I think.
Good evening. And I do say it's a good evening because we are here this evening to celebrate a life. Turn any mourning and sadness into joy into our hearts. I'm Father Bob O'Connell on behalf of Harry Stone's family, Bob Shipley and his family, and the Firewater Grill and family, and all of you that are friends that have gathered, taken time out of your busy lives to spend a few moments with those. And I ask for you this evening to make sure, before you leave this evening, that you turn any of those sadnesses into joy, into happiness, and into a reminder of the celebration of a life. These pictures and these images that you have been seeing up here are just moments of his life. So many more stories to be told, and you will hear some this evening. And that I ask now that as you have gathered, that you'll take time to remember those things that are so important. The precious presences of our lives, the moments for today, for this evening, and that you don't forget these things. As Scripture tells us, no one knows the hour or the day. Not even anyone in heaven except for God the Father. And so, yes, doctors and medical people of various can tell you, oh, you might have to do this and you might have to do. No one knows for sure, for certain. But God the Father. So be reminded of those things, and it's not about the doom and the gloom. It's about the happinesses and the joy and the celebration of a life. And that's what we're here for this evening. To take time to be able to do that. Let's open up with a simple prayer. If you'll be reminded what John said in chapter 14, verses 1 through 4, he said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled, for you have faith in God. Have faith also in me, because in my Father's house there are many dwelling places. And if there were not, would I not have told you that? I am going to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare this place for you, I will come back again and take you to myself, so that where I am, you also may be." Where I am going, you'll know the way. Now I'd like you to listen to the words of the psalmist from Psalm 23. Lauren Shipley is going to come up and read this wonderful scripture for you. Please take that into your hearts.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
The important thing that you listen to the last words of what Lauren said. You shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And that is what you have to have, is faith. Faith in believing that there is something beyond this life. Faith is what gets us through things in our lives. It isn't the church buildings, or the ministers in the church, or the people that fill them. Although all those things matter, and they look good, and they feel good. But it's truly what's beyond this life. And what we do in this life prepares us for what's ahead. Prepares us for accepting God into our lives. It's not a particular faith group, one or the other, or this one or that one. It's important. I remember one time sitting in Firewater Grill, and when I first met Perry, the first time. And he come out and asked me how my food was, as often he did for so many. And I just said I never had such an unusual sandwich before. It was this pimento cheese with tomato and all this other stuff that's in it. I said I've had pimento, but not particularly the way that he made it. And then he said, "Well, Father, what's the name of your church?" And I told him that it was a church for the lost sheep, for the marginalized, for the disenfranchised, for the people that were wandering. He said, "Well, Father, that's probably me and probably a whole lot of others." And I said, "Yeah?" He said, "Well, maybe one day I'll come to your church." And I said, And if you don't, you can always see me here, because I'll come to your church. Because church is wherever you're at. Church is wherever you're at. It is God's world. So those are things that are important that you remember today, and you take those things with you. And I ask for you to hear the words that are going to come from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8, that Tracy is going to come up and read to you. Please listen closely to those words from Ecclesiastes.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Perry, as all of you know that knew him well, was a walking contradiction of himself. He literally was both ends of the spectrum. He was a hothead, but he'd give you the shirt off his back. He had the kindest heart of any grown man I've ever known. When his mother passed away, I gave him a card. And I wrote this passage in it. And he came to me several times and he said that it really helped him. It helped him realize that there's a reason for everything. There's a time. And he wanted to keep that in perspective for his mother. Because when I asked him how he was doing, he said, well, I'm here. I'm at work. And that's what she wanted. So it was funny because after that, we talked, and I don't know, he yelled at me about something, but it was only because he never wanted mediocrity. He wanted everyone to have the expectations that he had. And I told him that he hurt my feelings. And he said, well, don't do it anymore. And I said, well, you know, there's a time, a reason, and season for everything. And, you know, Perry never apologized, but he winked at me and he said, you're right, there was a time for everything. So I thought it was appropriate to read this because he said he referred to it several times since his mother passed away. I need my glasses. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Thank you.
Glad y'all all came out tonight. I'm going to take this off. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to speak to you about my late friend and partner, Perry Stone. It has indeed been a very difficult 2 weeks for the Stone family. They're going through so much. Perry's mom passed away a few months back. His sister, Wendy, is fighting breast cancer. She lives in Ohio. And when I talked to Mr. Stone last night, we've had numerous conversations on the phone. He said, Bob, what can I do for you? And I thought to myself, what an unbelievable human being this gentleman is. Asked me what he could do for us down here when he's gone through all this loss. The Stone family and the Firewater Grill family appreciates all the love, support, and prayers that we have received. It has indeed been heartwarming and allowed us to keep going. And we will keep going. We will carry Perry's legacy forward. We're going to do our best because we know he's going to be looking down upon us. And if we mess up, then we'll hear about it later on. Some facts about Perry I found interesting in talking to his dad. Perry injured his knee his junior year at Knoxville Central, but came back in his senior year to excel as a kicker on the football team and a goalie on his soccer team. Perry had entertained numerous small college football scholarship offers, but his dad's dream was for Perry to go to the University of Tennessee. And so with the support of his family, Perry did indeed walk home to the UT football team. He dressed out that first year for 3 games and had a chance to travel with the team to the Cotton Bowl that year. But this is Perry all the way. He decided instead to go snow skiing in Colorado and passed up the Cotton Bowl. His dad said he was a little upset because he was hoping to get a Cotton Bowl jersey out of the trip, but Perry decided not to go with the team to the Cotton Bowl. Perry had begun experiencing back problems, and so it was at this point in time that he decided to end his football pursuits at Tennessee. And I think all of us seeing that picture, maybe when Perry talked about his football exploits, maybe we used to doubt, well, maybe he's embellishing a little bit, maybe he's exaggerating a little bit. Well, obviously he wasn't. But I know, too, because a few years back, I invited Perry, and maybe this was my way of trying to make sure that I could confirm Perry's story about UT. Philip Fulmer was speaking to us at the Touchdown Club, and I invited Perry to come down and see Philip Fulmer, the Tennessee coach that was there for 15, 16 years at least coaching. And sure enough, when Perry went up to Fulmer, he remembered Perry. So that validated. Of course, I knew he was telling the truth, but I said, well, let me just kind of verify this story a little bit. Now, and I may get off in different directions here, but Perry began working at Litton's Restaurant in Knoxville, which is a famous restaurant which is still there today. I was talking to Brian Lindsay earlier about it. Brian's a friend of Perry's from Knoxville. And also, Mr. Stone was telling me the story. The owner's name was Barry. He was a good family friend, and he put Perry to work. But apparently, Perry used to argue with Barry all the time and used to get fired every other day. But sure enough, Perry would show back up to work as if nothing had happened. And I found out from Mr. Stone a little bit about Perry's temper. It's called the lamb temper. And some of Perry's friends from Knoxville may know, but it came from Mr. Stone's mom's side. And Mr. Stone said he did not get that temper, but he figured Perry used it enough for everybody. So Perry was also a member of the Bobcat Choir, which did New York-style productions. Of course, I know my staff will attest to the fact he loved singing every now and then in the kitchen and loved belting out some tunes. But along the way, his dad bought a condo. Perry was renting out the condo, and then he decided he wanted to move home. Apparently, he didn't want to pay rent, maybe, I don't know. But Mr. Stone told him to take 2 weeks off, or, couldn't move home for those 2 weeks. Stay where you at. You got to decide what you're going to do with your life. Well, Perry decided his decision was to attend Johnson & Wales in Charleston. And that's where he came. And that's where he would graduate with honors in 1994. And as a sidelight, Eric Litton, who is Barry Litton's son, ended up following Perry down here to go to Johnson & Wales, and now runs that restaurant, Litton's, in Knoxville, which is still open. Well, Perry had the opportunity and took the culinary course to make some great stops in the Low Country at some fantastic restaurants, including Carolina Wildlife over on Johns Island, the Charleston Cattle Company that was in North Charleston next to Desperados in our complex, and that's where we really first met and became acquainted. And then Perry would move on to Meritage downtown, Shimp Creek Bar and Grill, which I know Glenn Avenger's here, John Avenger's brother, the late John Avenger's brother. And Perry left his mark on Shimp Creek working for John and Angie over there, did a wonderful job for them. And then he would go on to Locklear's, and I think he was there about 4 years. He took a year or two off, and I called him almost 4 years ago about doing the Firewater Grill project in Somerville. You know, I've often wondered, I hope Perry didn't regret taking that phone call. But I know one thing, he was the only person that I considered to be my partner in this venture. And as we opened, we realized as a small independent operator, The financial challenges and the quality of life challenges to succeed are tremendous, as there's a number of people here in the hospitality industry, in the food and beverage industry. It is a very time-consuming industry, and so is everybody's business. We understand everybody has their commitments and long hours, but the restaurant business is indeed challenging. But I can never ask for somebody to work any harder. I mean, Perry never stopped giving 110% to do everything he could to help us succeed at the Firewater Grill. Perry believed at the Firewater Grill, as he did at all his culinary stops, that giving the customer a quality dining experience was paramount to your success. Now, I'm sure my staff will concur that Perry was not very fond of recooks. He was not real happy when food came back. And sometimes he would question that, and sometimes me and Perry would have conversations about that. It wasn't because he wasn't committed to the quality of his customers. It was because, as Tracy alluded to, he wanted it to be right the first time, and he wanted perfection, and he really was all about pleasing the customer. Just sometimes he'd get a little angry if something came back. And I can't repeat some of the things he may say. Wouldn't be appropriate. Also, too, I think this is very important. Perry was committed to utilizing local produce, local ingredients, and he was loyal to vendors here in the Low Country. I mean, to the T. I mean, there would be times where I'd be like, Perry, why don't we just order this stuff from one source? We'd be getting, items from like 6 different vendors. But also knew is because Perry had worked and developed relationships over the years, and that, he really was loyal to these folks. I've had some great conversations, as I said, with Mr. Stone, and he was having a colonoscopy today and some other tests, and he knew he needed to do those things. But he wanted to thank all of you for your friendship to Perry over the years. The Stone family has been comforted in the realization of how loved and respected Perry was in the Low Country, and how many friends he had made. Mr. Stone said that while Perry's first family resided in Knoxville, his second family, they had become aware, lived in the Low Country of South Carolina. Perry so loved this area. Moving back to Tennessee was probably not in his future plans. He loved to fish and feel the salt air in his face. And that was probably the only fish he ever caught that y'all saw right there. Because as we all know, he wasn't a very good fisherman. But he loved it. He loved outdoors. He loved being out in Charleston Harbor. And a few days before he passed, I know he was talking to Bruce Abbott. And his boat was sitting there and he needed some work done on it. And he told Bruce, he said, I can't wait to get that boat fixed so I can get out in that harbor and go fishing again. Well, unfortunately, Perry did not get a chance to go fishing again. But we know how much he loved the outdoors of the Low Country and what it meant to him. And also, as you saw in the obituary, he loved the mountains of Tennessee. And that's where his ashes will be spread. But I did talk to Eric, his brother, and to his dad. And they agreed. They left some of Perry down here. And at an appropriate time, I'll gather some of Perry's friends or whoever wants. Hey, everybody here, we could go out. We're going to go scatter his ashes out in Charleston Harbor. And I think that would make him happy. More importantly, Perry felt a deep connection to the people here. And that is why he treasured his relationships with all of you. You all know that Perry could be tough and fiery in nature, as Tracy alluded to. But that he had a heart of gold, and he did. He would take his shirt off his back. He'd walk miles if it meant to help you out. He would be there. He would be the first person to be by your side in a time of need. We're all better for having been impacted by Perry, from his culinary talent to his love of the outdoors, to his ability to help others, and finally to engage so many friends. I'm going to tell a couple stories about Perry just in the last week or so. 2 ladies who pulled up to the restaurant and saw the sign where we had, rest in peace, Perry Stone, we love you. And the ladies were just so upset. And they said, when we were there he was so friendly and so engaging, and he would come out and ask how everything was and how our dining experience was. And they said, with him, we knew he really meant it. We knew he really cared, and we're going to miss that. Because they said that's why we enjoy coming to this restaurant, because of that personal touch that Perry did. There was another couple, lived right back here in Weatherstone, and their son Owen, who is now 4, they're not here, but I don't think they would mind me saying this, their son's name. When he first started coming to the restaurant, Perry would hold Owen, because he was a young infant. And it was, when I talked to them the other week and I told them about Perry's passing, they recalled the affection that that Owen had developed for Perry. But that, because after that, as the years progressed, and I saw it personally, as they would come in and dine, Perry would come out, and I'm telling you, as soon as he walked out that hallway and Owen saw him, he'd get the biggest smile on his face. And he was so happy to talk to Perry and see Perry. And Perry was just great with him. Perry was great with children, period. He loved his nieces and nephews. He was very close to them. Kids loved Perry. It was like that charisma, that engaging charm. He made them just feel so comfortable. And he just had a knack for it. In fact, his dad told me that Perry kidded him in conversation, saying that he might hire a surrogate so he could have a child. He did love children. You know, another thing, and just in some of the conversations I've had following up on folks who book Christmas parties, I've talked to a couple ladies who had never met Perry but had talked to him on the phone numerous times, and they said they were shocked, obviously, when I told them the news, but they said, you know, what a nice gentleman. We wanted to come there because of the way he treated us and talked to us, and was just so professional and so kind on the phone. And that these were folks that really, I had one lady who talked to him 7 or 8 times and never met him, and was sad by the fact that she wouldn't meet him. But she just talked about how much she enjoyed the conversation she had. I think this last one is the biggest one and the most important one. Perry loved helping other people. He was very dedicated and committed to helping vocational rehab folks. He hired a lot of folks that would have not had an opportunity otherwise. He was really good about that, and very probably did as much as anybody else in town. And we have one young man that he's kind of like a mentor to him. His name's Daniel, and Daniel has faced challenges coming up like all of us. But Perry took him under his wing, helped pay for him to get his GED, attended his GED graduation, and has taught Daniel a lot about life. And now Daniel's enrolled in Trident Tech, taking graphic arts courses. And he really took him under his wing and wanted to help guide him in a direction that would give him a better life. And I think that's just one small sample of what Perry, did to impact other people's lives. I need to do this and get this said before I sit down. I want to say one more story, but I'd like to really thank first Father Bob O'Connell, who raced over to the restaurant the day that Perry passed and met with my staff and must have come by every day for a week to check on us. And I appreciate Father Bob being here to conduct the service. Christy Sanders, Mary, and the Holiday Inn Express staff. And then Joni LaRosa, floral designs by Joni for these beautiful flowers, and Sharon Laney at Instaprint, Angela Vest, and then Randy and Aaron Swan for doing the music and helping with the production. So, and thank you most of all for taking the time to be here. I want to tell you one last story, and it may seem corny to y'all, but I don't know, it happened. About a week ago, I live back here in Weatherstone, and I decided I wanted to walk to work. I figured a 30-minute walk might be good for the soul. So I don't know why I did that day, but I did. And as I was walking, I was about halfway down Holiday Drive. It was sunny, it was blue sky, it was 65 degrees. It started drizzling. And I stopped for a second, I said, what? And I looked up, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. I tell you not. And there might have been a cloud 10 miles away, and I'm sure that's what it was, and the wind was blowing it. But for 100 yards, I walked in a light drizzle. And I thought to myself, I said, and the thing was, the whole way I was thinking about Perry. I was thinking about this memorial. I was thinking about, could we have done more? Could have I pushed Perry more? Because he realized he did have some health issues, and he was just getting ready to address those. So I had all that playing over in my mind, how hard he had worked, how dedicated and committed he was. So I was thinking about all these things for that whole walk, and then I started walking through this drizzle. And I'm like, you know what? I said, I think I hear you, big guy. You telling me it's time to move on. Accept. Don't look back. I would want you to keep moving on with the restaurant. And, to me, it was a sign that Perry was saying, hey, I'm up here with my mom, Linda. I'm up here with my grandmother. And we up here in this big kitchen in the sky. We cooking a big old feast. I'm here with my friends. And we'll see you again sometime, soon, or not soon, but in the future. But it was a powerful moment for me. It was one of the most, revelating things that ever happened to me, because when I got to work, I was talking to Ron that works with us, our kitchen manager, and I said, Ron, we were standing back in the back. I said, Ron, look back over there. I said, what do you see? He said, blue sky. I said, yeah, I just walked through about 100 yards of drizzle, so couldn't explain that. But I think it was Perry speaking, saying it's time to move on, it's time to accept, and we mourn him and we miss him, and he left his legacy to us all, and we're just going to keep moving forward. And at this point in time, I'll conclude my remarks, and we're going to play a couple songs. And I talked to Mr. Stone about music, because Perry, like I said, was a member of the Bobcat Choir, so I thought he might have some favorite hymns or something. But Mr. Stone had told me that he's had posted on his Facebook, a friend of Perry's, Vanessa, these two James Taylor songs. And Mr. Stone said that they had brought him much comfort and really it meant a lot to him. So I said, you know what? We're going to play these during the service. So we're going to play those two songs right now. Thank you.
In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine? Ain't it just like a friend of mine? You hit me from behind. Yes, I'm gone to Carolina in my mind. Cabin she's a silver sun. You best walk her away. Watch it shine, watch her watch the morning come. A silver tear appearing now, I'm crying, ain't I? Gone to Carolina in my mind. There ain't no doubt in no one's mind that love's the finest thing around. Whisper something soft and kind. And hey baby, the sky's on fire, I'm dying, ain't I? I'm gone to Carolina in my mind. In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine? Ain't you just like a friend of mine? She hit me from behind. Yes, I'm gone to Carolina in my mind. Dark inside and late last night, I think I might have heard the highway call. Geese in flight and dogs at bite. The signs that might be omens say I'm going, I'm gone to Carolina in my mind. With a holy host of others standing around me, and gone to Carolina in my mind. In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the